Welcome, everybody. This is Sarah Looper of Looper Som. I'm talking today with Nishal Kumar. He is the CEO and founder of No Days Wasted. And I take this herbal supplement, DHM Detox, to help me recover from any kind of alcohol that I take. And he's going to join us in just a second here. I'm going to find him. Finding you, Nishal. There we go. Got him? Do we have him? Do we have him? Invite. Invite to join. Oh, wait. No, it's Nishal. Hold on. This is the first time I'm doing this, guys, and you know that I'm a Luddite. Invite. Did I do it? Accept. Did I do it? Hi, guys. I'm so glad that everyone is here. Oh, I figured it out. Hot diggity.
We're here.
And I am not good with technology. Nishal, thank you so much for joining us. I was just introducing you before I was fiddling around with Instagram. But I was just introducing you. So, Nishal, you are the CEO and founder of No Days Wasted. This magic pill, I feel like I'm Jack and the Beanstalk, like Jack and the Beanstalk, whenever I take this. Because I'm like, how did these work so well? I don't get it. So,
It's an absolute game
I
changer.
want to hear from you. I want this to be such a great discovery live because I think that we all as consumers have a right to know what we're putting into our body, into our temple, really. And if we're imbibing, alcohol affects all of us, and of different different sexes are affected, or different genders, I should say. We're affected differently by our weight, by our BMI, by our size. And I can't wait to dig into this with you. So my first question is, actually, wait a minute, I'm going to back it up, and I want to tell you what happened to me the other day.
I
So
love it.
3 weeks ago, I threw out my back. It's the second time I've done it. And I was putting my cat's food bowl down, and I was like, oh my God. It knocked me out for a solid 2.5 weeks. I was on muscle relaxers, so I did not have an ounce of alcohol. So this past Thursday, I go out to dinner with my husband. He orders a bottle of champagne, which we both love. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to get it on. So we split the bottle. It's 2.5 glasses each. I asked him as soon as we're done with the first glass. I said, do you have any No Days Wasted on you? Because I forgot some. And he goes, no, I don't. So after dinner, it was like 2.5, 3 hours after we had started imbibing. We went home, took a packet each of No Days Wasted. I chugged half of one of the replenishers,
Yep.
and I went to bed. And I'll be honest, the food was quite rich. We went to bed shortly after that, so it was not so long after we ate a really rich meal. I hadn't had alcohol in nearly 3 weeks. My heart was not pounding, but beating a little faster than it usually does. But I woke up the next day and I didn't feel hung over at all. And I am a total lightweight. After one glass of wine, I'm usually like, who wants to go to the clubs? Like, I'm a mess after one glass. So it really works for me. So I want to ask you, we're going to dive right in. How does DHM Detox work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for the longest time, people thought it was just dehydration that you had to deal with if you're indulging in some drinks. But the biggest culprit here is acetaldehyde, and that's alcohol's toxic byproduct. So what we all know, we've heard alcohol is a poison, but actually its natural metabolism produces something called acetaldehyde, which is actually 20 times more toxic than alcohol
What?
itself. And that's what builds up. That's what reaches peak levels the next morning when you wake up, and that's why you have that nausea, that brain fog, anxiety. So DHM detox works as a proactive solution to assist your liver enzymes to break down that toxin before you wake up the next day.
How does it break it down? I'm going to back this up a little bit
Yep,
because it says it says somewhere on here not to take it. You say it right here on the back, suggested use. Do not take on an empty stomach.
yep.
So
So you never want to take any supplements, vitamin supplements on an empty stomach. It's just a general rule of thumb. You will have some upset stomach. Food is really also important in this instance because what happens is the enzymes that your body produces to break down alcohol and its toxic byproduct, they start getting released in your stomach and your gut. And that's where it's all happening. So if you have food in your stomach, then what it's going to do is it's going to hold the liquid, the glass of wine you just had in your stomach, so the enzymes can start acting on it. But if you have nothing in your stomach, it'll just pass right through you, and it's a fast track to going into your bloodstream, which means you don't even have a chance. So you want to be in a position where you can be proactive and know all the facts about, okay, what's going to happen. Have some food in your stomach. DHM Detox works by essentially making your liver enzymes work better. It's what we call a cofactor. So essentially a support system that improves the capacity and the efficiency of those liver enzymes that are naturally produced.
Oh my God. So I just want to clarify. We are, because we're all adults here, we're not drinking the way that we used to in high school or college, where it was like who can get drunkest the fastest.
Definitely.
And the way to do that is to not eat. And so what I'm hearing from you is have something in your stomach at least. Is there something that's better to have in your stomach than
I
like bread or a fat, or like is protein better?
light carbohydrates and a balanced meal, but yeah, some light carbohydrates, because what grains of rice or bread will do is they'll actually absorb better than anything else. They'll absorb the alcohol better. It just, simple experiment. If you poured a glass of wine on a chicken breast, it'd probably slide right off, but if you poured a glass of wine on a loaf of bread, it'd absorb more, right? um,
Yes.
fun little
Yes.
example. um yeah, food is essential, and also, in general, we want to make sure with no days wasted, it's about balance, not binging. So the whole
Mhm.
lifestyle is understanding what we're putting into our body. Okay, alcohol is not the best for us, but a lot of friendships are made over having a drink or two, right? There is a culinary experience. There is the psalm experience. There's everything in between. So, being educated is what we're all about, and this whole health conscious movement is so critical, especially for us, because we're doing a lot more educating these days, and it's so exciting because now people care about how things work and what they're putting in their body. So having a lot of fun with it.
And that's a really good segue. I asked my audience for some questions, and I was flooded with some really great questions. And one of the top ones was, are the products certified, and by what, and how are they tested?
Definitely, that's a great question. So we have two separate supply chains. We operate in the U.S. and Canada. Funny enough, our product in DHM Detox, it's called DHM Blend in Canada. It's actually Health Canada approved, so it's a very strict process, similar to FDA approvals in the U.S. However, supplements in the U.S. do not need approvals by the FDA. There's no major claims being made. There's essentially, and you're using approved ingredients. In terms of certifications and testing, we have third-party testing for purity, identity, heavy metals, toxins, and microbial testing. Also, all of our manufacturing partners are FDA-registered facilities, fully GMP, so they meet and exceed the industry standards. And on top of that, in terms of sourcing our raw materials, we've been working with the ingredient of DHM, so dihydromyrisodin, which is this very powerful antioxidant and backbone ingredient that we use. We've been working with this ingredient for over 7.5 years through R&D and the company being around for 6 years.
Hmm.
And I've scoured all ends of the earth to find the best quality DHM. Um, and that's what we put in our products. Not all DHM is made equal. You have to find quality. You need reliability, trusted partners, tested ingredients. So critical in supplements.
So that actually leads me into another question, which is like how did you become this expert on DHM, and how did you become like the kingpin of DHM?
Yeah, it's funny. It's this company started as a personal science experiment. So for myself, it was actually a few years after college. I studied chemistry and biology, and then on a pre-medicine track, and then ended up with a degree in geophysics and commerce. So a lot of science, but essentially, I solve problems from a first principles point of view, which is essentially saying, let's solve it at its smallest, let's find the problem at its most simple form and solve that. And access to scientific literature and really doing all that research. So it was a culmination of this personal science experiment and really diving deep into the research using a scientific method and understanding that the big problem here is this toxin, acetaldehyde, right? And how do we break that down? How do we have a proactive solution so you're not, beating up your liver and you're not waking up the next day, and you're also focusing on balance too, because that's what it's all about. We want to be here for the moments and the experience, but we want to use science in a functional way
Hmm.
in our daily lives.
And just confirming that acetaldehyde is the thing, molecule, whatever it is, that's what makes us hung over in the morning.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's the big culprit.
Okay.
It is that toxic byproduct of alcohol, 20 times more poisonous than alcohol itself.
Damn.
And so you have two key liver enzymes that are working here. It's ADH and ALDH. So alcohol dehydrogenase and acetaldehyde dehydrogenase, and they both don't perform great. So that's where DHM Detox is coming in and lending support to those enzymes. So it's aiding a natural process that's happening on its own, but it's just giving it that extra capacity, that extra support. We all need extra support. If you're at the gym and you need a little help getting the weights up or something like that, think of it as like that support system.
That's awesome. I have another question which segues right into that. Is there anything I can take with the DHM detox that would supercharge my recovery even more? For example, an extra dose of vitamin D or an airborne?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing we actually talked about was food.
Okay.
So food being your basis, good nutrition in general, having yourself set up for success.
Mhm.
And then also, so there's actually the 80-20. So 80% being the toxins, and that's the big problem. And then the other 20% is rehydration and replenishment of key vitamins and minerals. So that's where an electrolyte mix with water. We have our electrolyte mix. We use pink Himalayan salt, so it's got these up to 84 trace minerals and elements that are vital for your cellular function: magnesium, zinc, copper, calcium. So have ultimately it comes down to, if you can break the toxins down with great nutrition, then you're really going to be in a great spot the next day.
I have a
In
question
term,
about the pink Himalayan salt. So I use Morton's kosher salt at
yeah,
home, and I also use Maldon sea salt and other sea salts, but I don't use pink Himalayan salt. You were saying something about the nutritional value. Are the nutritional values across all salts the same, or are they different?
they're not. So we have to look at the source. The source is so critical. And I think, especially when you're looking at supplements and what you're ingesting, especially things in um, capsule and powder form, right? Because there's a chance that they could be processed. So we don't want anything that's processed.
Mhm.
Table salt is going to raise your blood pressure over time. You're not going to get the value of the electrolytes. However, the two salts, the kosher, like the sea salts that you mentioned, and the pink Himalayan salt, are the cream of the crop, creme de la creme. So what you're going to find is they're coming from a natural source. They're not processed, which means all those trace elements and minerals from their environment are still in there. And they actually help with the regulation of your blood pressure. And even when you consume more of those salts, your blood pressure won't go up. So
What?
it's crazy. It's crazy. So the source is always so important. Um, you know, Magnesium is another example of where source is critical. You can have magnesium malate for muscle recovery, but then you can have something like magnesium citrate, which is like a intestinal relaxant, which would be like a laxative. Do you know what I mean? So, couple things to consider with the source.
Oh my
Always double check the
God.
source.
That is fascinating. I got some other great questions that I want to pose to you. One was, what's the difference between no days wasted, liquid IV, and Z-Biotics? And is one healthier for me than the other? Do they all do the same thing, or do they work differently or target different issues?
Yeah. So we have a few different things going on here, three different brands doing, different things, but some overlap. Um, you know, Liquid IV is more of an electrolyte mix. Um, You check the source of their electrolytes. I don't think they're using some of the pink Himalayan salts and whatnot.
Okay, so
Um,
this would be an electrolyte. So
yeah,
liquid IV is like this.
yeah, and we would compete directly with them. We have a few
Okay.
more things in there. We have sodium, potassium, magnesium. I don't think they have magnesium. We have vitamin C, D, and zinc. They don't have that profile as well. And then we only have 4 grams of sugar, where their hero has like 11. So you just want to weigh the odds. You need extra calories. You do need some sugar to absorb the electrolytes. So that's why we have it in there. Yeah.
Okay.
But it doesn't that the electrolytes don't interact with that acetaldehyde pathway, that toxin pathway that we talked
Mhm.
about, which is 80% of the equation. So that's where DHM detox comes in, and this is really the focus when it comes to having a glass of wine or
Mhm.
two. Um, you look at something like Z-Biotics, they are trying to solve, it's a probiotic, and they are trying to solve a similar problem to DHM Detox. We like to focus on a few different things. Um, Obviously, efficacy is key, but convenience, price point, and the form factor is critical, because I know if you're going out, you're having a glass of wine or two, a nice cab sav with dinner, you want to make sure your palate is balanced with what you're doing. You love the pairing, right? The red, it might be the red meat with the red wine, right? And if you're drinking something, a little elixir, then your palate will be thrown off, and you may not enjoy the experience the same way. So I personally, that's why I came up with this form factor, and I thought, hey, this is great, because you could start your evening. You're at dinner, the bread comes out, you have a little slice of bread, your first glass of wine, you can take one of the capsules, and then you're off to the races. Dinner comes, second glass of wine, boom boom, you're having a great time. And it's so discreet, it's so quick, and it's shareable. That's the fun part too. You can go out with a purse full of these and share them with everyone at dinner, and they're going to thank you the next morning.
So I have a question for you too now, actually, because you told me that there's a great way to optimize taking this. And not that I've been taking it wrong, because when I got home, I took the 2 pills and I felt better in the morning.
Yep.
But is there a smarter or better way to take the no days wasted, the DHM detox, to optimize its efficacy?
That's a great question. So the people, have been talking about this for a long time. Every hour, one alcoholic beverage is broken down. In theory, it's something that's spoken about, and that is largely true, at slightly different rates for different people. But that's alcohol being broken down into acetaldehyde, and so you think about it. It's a gradual process, and you have only so much capacity. So what that means is, and you're not drinking all at once, you're not having a full bottle of wine in one go. It's a gradual process.
Right.
So the rule of thumb is, have this while drinking. You could take one capsule after the first glass of wine or two, and then you can take the next capsule after the next glass of wine or two, and then that way you spread it out. It's gradual. It's following the cadence of your evening. So it's not all at once. Again, balance, spread it out, not binge. That's how we live, and that's how to best optimize.
So if I stuck with my 2 glasses like I did the other night,
Yeah.
I would have taken one no days wasted after my first glass, the second one after my second glass. But what if I'm drinking a little bit more that night? Is it okay for someone of, like, I don't want to say average size or weight, but how much of this can you take?
Yeah. So I see a question in here really quick. My
Yeah.
package says one capsule a day. So you must be in Canada, which is great. We have Health Canada authorization to sell. And essentially, what they recommended is that we put that dose. So essentially, U.S. packaging is the main rule of thumb. That was a recommendation by Health Canada, and they are generally very conservative with what they recommend, for vitamins and supplements, and with the verbiage. So I would lean in on the U.S. sort of messaging, which is one packet for a normal night. And then you can take a second packet before bed if you end up having a couple more.
Okay.
Again, it's all about balance, not binge. You want to make sure you get some water, and rehydrate, maybe with some electrolytes, and get
Mhm.
some sleep. Those are the two things we couldn't fit in the capsules.
This goes into another question that I got about dosage, and does it vary depending on your sex, weight, BMI, or body composition? Meaning, if a man who is 6'2" and weighs 250 pounds versus a petite woman who's 5'1" and weighs 100 pounds wet, and they both have 3 glasses of the same wine, it's going to affect the woman more than the guy. So, like, it says here that the DHM detox is 1,000 milligrams. How did you get to that dosage? And does that dosage of 1,000 milligrams affect those two people having the same wine? Does it affect them differently? And would you
Yeah.
recommend different doses for each person?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. Obviously, we do our very best to optimize, um, and we do it based on sort of the mean, median, where the average person would lie in terms of their body weight. But that's very hard to do, right? There's always people on either end of the spectrum, and we want to be inclusive and make sure the product is helpful to all. So, couple things to consider here. If you The way we've dosed it is at 10 milligrams of DHM per kilogram of body weight. What that means is
We're
about,
Americans. We need it in
there
pounds.
we go. So about 4.5 milligrams per pound of body weight.
Okay.
And the way that works out is um, if you're in that range of about 180 pounds, it's perfectly optimized for you at this 10 milligrams, or we'll call it 4.5 milligrams per pound of body weight.
Okay.
With that being said, let's simplify it here. If you are a smaller person, you can just take a standard dose. You're going to be consuming less alcohol to begin with. Just
Oh, shoot.
you have greater capacity to consume. So it's proportionate to size. So, rule of thumb, standard dose, 1 packet, 2 capsules. All the ingredients in here are powerful antioxidants, herbal ingredients. They have essentially like anti-inflammation properties, and liver protectant properties. So
Mm-hmm.
nothing to worry about by saying, "Oh my gosh, did I take too much?"
Mm-hmm.
You generally won't have enough in your possession to take too much to feel any adverse effect.
Okay.
So again, natural, herbal, and great. If you're a bit bigger, if you're over that 180, 200 pound threshold,
Mm-hmm.
I'd say, you know, you can take another 1 to 2 capsules in your evening, and
Okay.
that's going to help. So to simplify, if you're a bit smaller, for 3 to 4 drinks, you could take 1 packet, or
Mm-hmm.
sorry, for, yeah, 3 to 4 drinks, you take 1 packet. And in the range of maybe 3 drinks, if you're bigger, you could take 1 packet. So
Okay.
just take a little bit more if you're a bigger individual, because you also might be consuming a bit more.
Uh,
And it has to do with your size. That 10 milligram, again, 4.5 milligram per pound of body weight,
yeah.
is the best way to look at it.
Okay. So it sounds like if you're on like a bachelor party weekend in Vegas and you're drinking all weekend, breakfast, lunch, dinner, it sounds like you can basically microdose. Like every glass or two that you take, you can take one pill to help minimize the acetaldehyde
Build up.
buildup, which
You got it.
minimizes your hangover. Am I getting it?
You got it on lock. It's pretty incredible.
I
I
love
think
it.
the fun part is that gradual, the gradual side of things,
Mm-hmm.
right? Do it with balance, spread it out. I think with those bachelorette parties and the celebrations, it's fun because you get to start the day with a mimosa, with brunch, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to take care of your body alongside of that, right? And know what you're putting in your body, and find that balance.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say, yeah, if you're doing kind of a full day, exercise or affair here, then what you do is 1 capsule after your first couple, then later on in the day you can take another capsule or two. And I'd say, if it's under sort of 6 to 7 drink threshold, you're good with a packet or two. If you go over that, make sure you're being extra careful, and you can take another packet. So it
Mm-hmm.
depends, but always spread it out. Understand that alcohol has to be in your system for the product to be effective. So do not
And
take it
food in
too
your
early.
stomach.
Exactly. So food in your stomach holds it in place. So you think about it, it's like, hey, if we're trying to accomplish a goal, we need it to be where we want it to be for it, for the enzymes to act, for the interaction to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So you cannot take it too early. Don't take it an hour or two before you start, because it's too early, right? You're just going to start digesting and the product is going to be less efficacious. Also, do not take it the next day. That's way too late. The damage is done.
Okay.
We are proactive people. We get ahead of the problem. We're here to be
I
proactive.
love it. I got another, some really great other questions, and I saw one pop in. Um, who should not take DHM detox? Someone with asthma or hay fever because milk thistle is in it, but
Yeah.
also someone on immunosuppressants and also someone who's breastfeeding.
Those are all great questions. So definitely, milk thistle is one of the ingredients in the product, and what milk thistle? It's part of the ragweed family. So if you have a ragweed allergy, I would avoid it. And also, what your interaction with ragweed would be. I'd say in general, the rule of thumb would be if you have any concerns, talk to your physician, doctor, and show them the ingredients, and they can recommend based on your current situation. I'm not a doctor. I'm yeah, so
You are
I don't want to
almost a
give that advice.
doctor.
I was working on it, and then I realized I love the balance in my life, and so I didn't get to go all the way. But have a lot of great friends that are doctors. We have doctors on our team as well that are our experts that I consult with daily and weekly,
Mhm.
and are big supporters. So we have that support, but just make sure you're checking in with your doctor, because you don't want to do anything that could jeopardize your current situation, and you want to be feeling your best.
Okay. What about someone who's on immunosuppressants?
So yeah, that would be a question for the doctor as well. I would,
Okay,
yeah, I would have to, you'd have to check there.
that's
But
totally
general
fair.
rule of, yeah, I mean, the good thing about the ingredients that we have is that they're all healthy. So we have powerful antioxidants, liver protectants, right?
Mhm.
So, general rule of thumb is like, you can take DHM detox as a daily liver supplement, but you're not going to feel anything because
Mm.
you'll feel normal, you'll feel good, right? But you're not going to feel anything heightened or extreme. Um, but to feel the actual effect, the best use case is taking it, and is what was designed for is to take it alongside of your drink or two
Okay.
that you're having. Yeah.
I got another really great question from a gal who said, I'm in perimenopause. And I've noticed that as I age, my tolerance for alcohol has been decreasing, and alcohol has been affecting my sleep a lot more. I sleep worse when I drink. Would DHM detox help me sleep better if I still want to have that second glass of wine?
So that's an important conversation. Aging, I think in general, we find that, oh my gosh, we can't drink like we used to in college. That's always a topic of conversation. Likewise, and that's how this personal science experiment started 7.5 years ago. But the rule essentially, there's a genetics component to this,
Mhm.
and there's some genes that are very important here. So that acetaldehyde breakdown, and just to simplify it, is led by this gene called ALDH2. And this gene basically triggers your body to produce the enzyme that breaks down acetaldehyde.
Okay.
And as we get older, in general, gene expression, which means genes being turned on to perform their function and create what they need to create for our
Mhm.
natural systems, they, it's reduced. So in general, that's a big part of aging. So you will find that, that next glass of wine will hit you harder as you get a little bit older. But it's good to understand the recovery side of things, so you can say, okay, we have tools like this to say, okay, if I'm having that glass of wine, I know, it's might not be the same as a few years ago. So, you set yourself up for success. What was the other question that was alongside of that?
Uh, my tolerance
I
has been
hope
decreasing. It's been affecting my sleep
the
more.
sleep, the sleep
Mm.
part, very important. So I want to explain one. So an interesting thing about alcohol is that it is labeled as a depressant, And that is because it interacts with a pathway that essentially blocks the production of a natural stimulant. So we're walking around, we're living our lives, our brains, we're producing this natural stimulant called glutamate. Glutamate it's produced consistently, and um, it's part of our natural function, daily function. But what happens when you consume alcohol? Alcohol binds to a receptor site in your brain that essentially turns off the production of that stimulant. So we're saying, okay, that's why it's labeled a depressant. Okay, because we stop the production of a stimulant, right? It's not like a caffeine like type stimulant. It's something that really just, you know, it's well, I'll explain. And then what happens is, as the alcohol wears off, your body and your brain is like, wow, I stopped producing the stimulant for a while. Let me make up, let me compensate. It's called the glutamate rebound. There's a massive rebound effect, and what'll happen is when that alcohol wears off, it's generally when you're sleeping, and then your brain just starts producing the stimulant,
And that's
and you wake
why
up
my heart
anxious.
races.
There you go.
Oh
And
my
you
God.
wake up anxious and you have
Oh
a
my God,
bad sleep.
Nishal, you're making science so much fun and easy to understand. Thank you so much. Oh my God.
So, DHM, the ingredient itself, actually, it competitively fights off alcohol for that receptor spot, the GABA A receptor, and limits the depressive effect of alcohol in your system. So essentially, what you will do is you will find that you get a better sleep through the night. It's not going to be perfect because um, there's a lot of factors at play, right? How much you've consumed, over what period, etc. But your sleep will be significantly better, from what I've experienced, from what hundreds and thousands of our customers have experienced. Um, so yeah, I think that's an important thing to consider is the sleep. We do also make a sleep assist product that has magnesium, no melatonin. So magnesium, the right forms, L-threonate is great. Bisglycinate is great. If you get L-theanine, apigenin, the right ingredients can also help supplement your sleep so you can get that deeper, more restful night of sleep. But yeah, in general, I'd say um, you'll get a better rest, and you'll have less of that sort of anxiety, right? And
Mhm.
that anxiousness and that nervousness that comes from that glutamate rebound.
Oh my God. Nishal, this has been so freaking eye opening. Thank you so much. You took really complex concepts and you broke it down into really easy to understand language. And as someone who I love science, but man, did I have to struggle for those B's in chemistry and biology. I mean,
Fair
it's fun and it's
enough.
exciting, but I don't do that. And the last science class I took was in college, for crying out loud. So that was a long time ago. So thank you so much for this.
Of
Nishal, tell me,
course.
where can people find DHM Detox?
Yes, you can find it on our website, nodayswasted.com, also on Amazon, amazon.com and amazon.ca. We also are on GoPuff and Dashmart in some regions. So, and in Walmart even. Actually, we're in about 300 Walmarts in the US, and we'll be launching in Walmart in Canada in March. But
That's
couple
amazing.
things. Yeah, and I believe, Sarah, I know you have a code that you can share with people as well so they can get a little discount. So I think you can tag that too. I think it's Looper Som is the code. So that works on our website. Um, but yeah, and if you don't love it, we'll take it back. It's not our problem. We stand behind everything we do, but it's more about balance, right? We're not a brand about binging. We're here to help you feel your best. Life is about experiences. We need to experience it, whether it be that glass of wine, that nice meal, that new friend, that trip you're taking somewhere, right? That's what we're here for. So,
I love it.
and we're using science in a fun way to make it work.
Who doesn't
Let's
love
go.
fun science?
Let's
Let's go fun science. And
I
to
love
be
it.
clear, yes, I do promote you guys. You can get a small discount with me, and I do earn a little bit of a commission, just to be totally transparent. But you can buy it in all those other places. Nishal, thank you so much for your time and energy and all of your explanation. I really appreciate it.
Sarah, I appreciate you, your amazing audience, and everything you do.
Thank you so much. Bye. I'll
Thank
talk to you
you.
soon.
Bye.
Bye.